Welcome to Brandventures, the podcast that's going to take you into the world of adventurous brands. I'm your host, Gustavo, and I'm going to take you guys on a journey with me to discover new brands that are making a difference in today's market. Join me as we dive into the minds of fearless entrepreneurs behind the brands, discover the secret to their success and how they turn their passion into a profitable business. So sit back, relax, and get ready for an exciting adventure into the world of brand innovation on the Brandventures podcast. Welcome to the Brandventures, the show that's going to take you into the world of adventurous brands. I'm your host, Gustavo, and today we're going to talk to Kevin Novotny. Kevin was raised in Lake Tahoe riding motorcycles, dirt bikes, snowmobiles, and pretty much any action sport there was outdoors. In 2015, Kevin met AJ. Kevin and AJ started customizing and changing bikes until they developed their own frame in a garage. And now they're growing into a big company of electric bikes called P-51. Welcome to Brandventures, Kevin.
Thanks for having me. Excited.
Awesome. So that's pretty interesting. You grew up in Lake Tahoe. Tell me a little bit about that.
Tahoe's definitely a interesting place to grow up. You couldn't ask for a more rad area as a kid. It's all outdoors. You never spend a second inside. It's basically just in the summer, you're either on the lake, at the beach, riding bikes. And it just gives you kind of a passion for any of the outdoors.
You used to practice like skiing, snowboarding in the winter, or
once a month, like after school or on Saturdays, a bus would take all the kids up to the ski resort and you get your ski lesson and you do your ski lessons and basically learn how to ski and snowboard and do whatever one. So I skied up until I was 8 and then I was allowed to buy a snowboard and I switched to snowboarding. And then I still today snowboard.
I love Lake Tahoe. It's apparently the lake has so much water that it could fill the whole state of California for like 1 foot or something like that.
Yeah, I think has enough to fill California in like 16 inches and California and Nevada in 4 inches. It's what I want to say, second deepest alpine lake in the world and 10th clearest water in the world. But this year that might have changed because we had so much snow and it was so cold that the lake did something called turning. And I think we gained another almost 10 feet of visibility.
Yeah, wow. I didn't know that. Yeah. That's pretty interesting. So tell me a little bit, at 19, you started your own company.
Yeah, so I moved down to Southern California at 18, right after I graduated. Actually, of course, why everyone moves to Southern California to pursue acting. Just industry wasn't for me, didn't like it much. And so from there, I was going to community college, Santa Monica College, and then decided that it wasn't for me. So I at 19, basically I took out a loan, started a carpet cleaning and restoration company up in Santa Clarita area, so northern Los Angeles. And that's kind of what got me started into owning a business.
Wow, that's pretty young. Yeah. I'm pretty bold.
Yeah, what's funny is I couldn't get hired anywhere. I'd go in for interviews, like I'd go to restaurants or whatever and try to get a job. But I told them, I was like, I'm not going to work holidays because my mom said I got to come home for holidays. Because that's what my mom said. She said, you absolutely have to come home for Thanksgiving and Christmas. So I never got hired. Could not get a job because they're all like, well, you have to work holidays. I was like, well, I'm not going to be there. So
I'll just make my own business.
Exactly. Kind of what I had to do.
Okay. And the company still runs today. So it was pretty successful.
That's what pretty much financed our launch into electric bikes.
And so when did you start this apparel brand, Tether, that makes camera straps?
Yeah. So I met Natalie, who she is my fiance, but she's also on the team. So if you guys are ever messaging us on Instagram or any of the social platforms or look at any of our photography or content, she runs that whole division. Met her in 2015. She was a photography major at Cal State Long Beach. And coming out of college, I had a roommate at the time who he had an online business and it's kind of taught me the idea of what to do. So I wanted to start one because I was like, that's rad. Didn't know what to do. she was coming into photography, and I was like, cool, like I was going to get her a camera strap for a gift at one point. I couldn't find one I liked, and I was like, why don't we just, like, I'm going to try to make one. And so I made one, and then we started supplying and making them. And I was like, let's start a business doing this. And so in 2015, that happened. And then, yeah, we still have that today running as well. So we sell that all over the place.
That is definitely a good introduction to branding because
Yeah.
branding, that's what apparel is all about.
Hmm.
They have to sell you something that's nice, it's artsy, but at the same time it's functional. Can you
Yep.
tell me how did you fusion those together?
Owning that brand taught us, the two of us, because we both run it, a lot of what translated into this, which is finding factories, sourcing, customizing, working with suppliers, and then also learning how to run everything online. I mean, Shopify is how we started that. We're still on Shopify with P-51. I mean, it's a great platform.
Yeah.
And so it kind of taught us how to use all those different tools, as well as running Facebook ads, running Google ads, like retargeting. All of the marketing kind of was taught through running that company.
Everybody here is elevated production, and now you have to compete with something that is visually striking. How do you guys manage that?
So content has increasingly just become, because of the amount of ads and the amount of things that are going out and how good cameras have become, having good photography has becoming increasingly important. I mean, you can't have good ads without having good photography or having good videos or having interesting content. Um, and it's ever changing. I mean, it's changing so fast with algorithms and different platforms. It is hard to keep up. It's definitely tolling. I mean, it takes a lot. I mean, we're up till midnight every night editing videos, changing things. But content's definitely the most important part about getting out and having people see you, and then portraying the message of what you're trying to do correctly.
It could be a double-edged sword. So if you're
Hmm.
if you're making honest content, it's gonna
Hmm.
read through, and that's
Hmm.
that's a very important point that you made. You don't want to be faking too much. You just want to
Yep.
have fun, enjoy it, and you want to put out something that's genuine to you. Um, and on the other side, if you try to force it, then it may not play in your favor. I've seen some websites of people that really they don't put love into it, and you can read it, and you're definitely turned off by it.
So, and a funny thing on that is, all of our videos is us riding. Everyone on our team, and the three of us actually look kind of the same on video from far away. But it's all riding, and we ride the heck out of these bikes. Everything we've done is testing from riding. But we'll get comments on Facebook and things. They're like, "Oh, you guys don't even know how to ride." Like, and they'll just like pick us apart on like the random, like what kind of shoes we're wearing while we're riding. And you're like, dude, obviously we ride. This is what we do.
That's great attention. That's great attention. The bike community can be very technical, and they go crazy over the technical details. I did
Yeah.
um I did a trailer for a video game,
MX versus
and
ATV.
MX versus ATVs, yeah.
Yeah.
And it was recent, and people were just going crazy by the sound of the bikes, and we had to actually use the exact sound for each bike that was
Hmm.
shown. So we had like revving sounds, or we had like jump sounds, or and we had to be very meticulous about that.
I actually heard a story about that, which is funny. I heard that. I mean, from all the brands, they put it like, didn't they put bikes on treadmills and like run them just so they could like record the sound?
Well, I wasn't recording on the recording studio, but every bike
Yeah.
has the precise sound,
Yep.
and everything
I
that
had
we
heard
did on
about that.
it's
Yeah.
to the teeth. And then still kids go
Yep.
there and they're like, that's not the sound of a 50 cc.
Yeah.
And you're like, come on.
Well, I think one of the things we got lucky with is we started the business with no knowledge of bikes, and there was no one to work on e-bikes. So in any of the stuff, when people kind of want to comment or they want to question us, we know every part. We know insides of the motors, insides of the controllers. You realize that there's so many factors that play into how many amps you're going to push through what wattage motor, and what your BMS and your battery is actually going to handle for the output. And so it's a challenge, and staying in class two is our biggest goal. So we've done everything we can to push the boundaries of class two while keeping it a class two bicycle, because these changes are coming fast. and a lot of brands are thinking they're going to get away with it, and it's not. Electric bikes are not considered the same class as a motorized vehicle. It's an electric bike. Now, obviously, it's an electric motor, but they just don't classify as the same. So, class one and class two e-bikes fall under the same kind of category protected from the ADA as essentially electric wheelchair. So you can't be on a walking path and say that someone in an electric wheelchair can't go on that walking path. That is a public use path. They are allowed to use that. They're handicapped. Electric bikes fall into the same category as long as they're class one or class two. Um,
Mm.
Class three is only allowed to be used in bike lanes in certain areas. And then anything above that is going to be a personal electric vehicle, which is where most of these e-bikes are falling into. So the
Mm.
challenge is to stay in class two, which is 750 watts, 20 plus miles an hour, which 20 is, in my understanding, loose. The reason it says 20 plus is because it obviously has to be able to carry a certain weight up a certain steep grade and
Yeah.
still be able to maintain speed and power. So you have a 750-watt motor, nominal, a thumb throttle, pedal assist, and it needs to actually be pedaled as a bicycle. So there's things that
Okay.
that falls into. That's the reason we developed these bikes. That's the entire reason behind keeping them at a 750 watt.
Yeah.
One of the main confusion is everyone's saying, "Oh, well, you could put a 5,000 watt on there and make it do 60." Yeah, we have those. We can do those. That's not what we're going for. We're not competing against brands like Saran and Talaria, which are becoming basically dirt bikes. They're electric personal vehicles. Um, so it's been a big challenge of doing that. And as the laws start cracking down more and more, it's becoming a lot more apparent. I mean, we have a lot of customers coming in because their bikes got confiscated or they got impounded for being, not legal to go ride in bike paths and on bike trails. And then, you can ride these through most national parks, pretty much anywhere that doesn't say no e-bike, as long as a bicycle is allowed. Check your local laws. Things can change.
It's a big deal because
Mm-hmm.
electric vehicles are blurring the lines of mobility. That's where Lime, like they saw an
Mm-hmm.
opportunity there and they caught onto it really fast. And now they had to make laws. For example, in Venice Beach, they could go up to a certain area, and it took time for them to develop
Yep.
those laws because
Yep.
the bike path is a very gray area, and a lot of
Yeah.
people jumped the gun on it. But Santa Monica said no, no, no e-bikes from this point on.
Those areas of the beach, you have people who are parking, they've got families, they've got kids. You're not walking across the street. A lot of times you're not looking both ways. A little kid runs out, gets hit by an e-bike doing, or a Saran or something doing 35, 40 miles an hour. They're dead. So when you start having issues like that, yeah, the state's going to have to figure out and the government's going to have to figure out how to control it because you're causing a lot of injuries. A lot of stuff we've seen as well is downhill bikers are in areas there can't be motorcycles. So when you're a downhill biker, you're coming down a steep hill. You're not assuming anyone's going to be trying to pedal up that because you couldn't pedal
Yeah.
up it. But these electric dirt bikes, they can go up it. So now you've got them coming up. They're dead silent. You're coming down. Downhill bikers are moving. They're doing 30 miles an hour. You're going head on into it. Brain damage, broken necks, broken jaws. I mean, we've seen a number of it. You can see videos all over the place.
One of their big issues is the noise, that if they don't
Yep.
have enough noise, they're not going to get
Mm-hmm.
noticed on traffic, and it's a big deal. And I've heard people even putting speakers into their bikes
Mm-hmm.
and modifying them for just to get like a rev sound.
I mean, that's one of the big things. I mean, you drive around in Los Angeles, you can hear when there's a loud Harley or a street bike coming down, in between your lanes. Um, when it's dead silent, there's so many people that are distracted driving that makes a huge factor in how dangerous it can be, and not even in just traffic. I mean, with electric vehicles, I had an electric Fiat back in 2015 or something when they first came
Hmm.
out. And what's funny is you would drive down like areas going slow, whatever you're like in the city, and people wouldn't even hear you. So they would just step into the street thinking there's nothing. They wouldn't look. You'd be like on a boardwalk or like in like a green belt or something like in a neighborhood. They wouldn't even hear you. So they would just step right in front of you. Happened all the time because it was dead silent. That's why you see like the new like Teslas and everything. They make the noises as they back up and reverse because you can't hear it.
I want to take it back a little bit, and I want to
Mm-hmm.
ask you, the beginnings of P-51. So you
Yeah.
met AJ, who is your
Mm-hmm.
partner. Uh, how do you guys meet, and how do you get started with P-51?
So we met because he moved into the house right across the street. We hung out. I mean, I met all of his friends. He grew up down here. And in 2018, it was 4th of July, and he bought two e-bikes. And he was like, "Hey, can I borrow your truck? I'm going to go pick these e-bikes up." So he comes home with two e-bikes. It's 4th of July. Where we live, there's a boardwalk that can go pretty much all the way down the beach for 12 miles. Well, we had a party at a friend's house for the 4th of July, and the two of us rode the e-bikes down there. 2 days later, our friends group went and bought 7 more e-bikes. Like everyone just bought them. It was the most fun. We were having a blast.
Ah,
Like it was like we got to the party, and it's like you'd hang out at the party, you do stuff, and it's like everyone is just swapping out, testing e-bike, like riding the bikes. Like this is the coolest thing ever, because it's something that until you've done it, you don't know how much fun it is. Like you get on an e-bike and go ride around, and you feel like a kid, and you can go so much farther. There's so little effort. Within a week, AJ had added front suspension to his bike. He's cutting pieces off it. He's building different parts. I mean, we have that. We still have that very first e-bike that we bought. He's got his that before any e-bike had suspension. He had cut the back, developed this swing arm, like made a brace, put a 5,000-watt motor in it mid mount, and we had it. We would ride it on the beach. So anything with suspension, I'm like, yeah, we need that. Nothing had it. Nothing worked with suspension. So it's like when we'd ride it, it would hurt. It would hurt. Then came the Saran, which is an electric dirt bike, which is full suspension, and it's rad. It's 6,000 watts, I think 12,000 peak. I mean, the thing is 0 to 50 like that. It's fast. Um, and again, still gray area. No one even knew what these things were. So AJ bought one of those. People started coming to us to have us customize theirs, just because they'd see us around in the neighborhoods, whatever. And we're like, yeah, we'll help, whatever. So then we ended up actually importing a container of Sarans, where we're like, yeah, we could sell these things quick, and we sold them all in 4 weeks. Like it was crazy.
oh,
Like we couldn't put them together and customize them fast enough. We had customized so many bikes that it only made sense to make our own, because we couldn't get it right, because all of the bikes would already have their already set angle for their head tube, and it just
yeah.
wasn't what we wanted. It didn't ride right. So it got
Hmm.
to the point where we're like, all right, let's just start from scratch. Like not from another bike. We already know what every single part is. Let's just start from scratch. So we did, and we started the first template was a Sharpie on the garage floor that we'd cut and move, and we would move each piece at 1 degree. We would change the head angle 1 degree. We would move the bottom bracket a half an inch forward, backwards, up, down. And so that's kind of where the development of the bullet started. I was like, AJ, we should start a business doing this. And he's like, no, like we got enough going on. We're not starting an e-bike brand. And I'm like, I think we need to. I can get us all the parts, and we can do this. Like, check this out. Like, this can be real. And finally, he's like, yeah, let's do it. So then we kind of just went full into it.
I'm very curious into understanding this leap moment where you're doing something you think is going to stick, you have a gut feeling, and you take that leap. What is the initial step? Is it forming a company, or is it registering, or is it making an Instagram account? What does that mean to build a brand? The first baby step.
For this one, it was just basically order parts and continue doing what we were doing and screwing around in the garage and develop a bike for us or friends. And that was the goal.
The leap was to get the raw materials. Was
Yep.
that leap of faith?
For this one, the raw materials was the leap of getting it. And we had bought raw materials here, and we had taken them from other e-bikes and kind of made it into our own. But that was kind of the leap of being like, we're going to start just building our own from scratch, brand new bikes.
How do you guys work your social media? What do you guys do to advertise or market your bikes?
So making the content falls into the same as like product testing. Um, for social media, we are very big believers in just being organic. You see a lot of brands, they buy followers. They don't have a ton of likes, but it says it has a big follower, which is, a great tactic, and it works. Our social media, especially for this brand, we want it to be super authentic. So everything we put out, I mean, we're responding to people, we're talking to people. Everything we put out is either from people who ride our bikes. It's our stuff. We're not paying influencers to go out and ride our bikes. It's real people riding the bikes. So we do run ads. We run some retargeting ads on the regular platforms such as Google, and it converts well. But we just run a real low budget. We do actually have a billboard in downtown Huntington, which is
Oh,
rad.
nice.
We thought it'd be pretty cool to have a billboard. So we have a billboard down there, which is doing really well as well.
I think the power of social media and creating content is to be in the back of someone's mind in a
Hmm.
positive way.
Yep, it's the long game.
And it's a tool where you can be in contact with your customers, uh, and you can see their reaction, and
Hmm.
you can read their comments, and you can take some of their input is a feedback thing, right?
Yeah,
So owning that is very key. I say that in the future, media managers are going to become the CEOs of companies.
I would 100% agree with you. I mean, if you the actual marketing aspect is the driving tool of pretty much any business. I mean, product has become easier now than ever to basically source and make. Um, in our aspect, it was not because we're not buying things that are white labeled. But starting your own small business of different products, you can find already made products to buy, and as long as you know how to market and know how to get a message out there, um, it's you can do it. One of the recent ones, you look at uh, Liquid Death. I mean, the guy did that
Yeah,
marketing campaign and sold it for what, $1 billion or something. I mean, he started it before he even had product. He ran a marketing just to see if he could. There's a book. What's his name? Seth Godin, I think, is the author. It's called Purple Cow, and it's all short stories about marketing through the years of like what they did. There was one that I found incredibly interesting, which was Captain Crunch. They did the same thing. They basically were like, "We're so good at marketing, we can make a product that doesn't even exist yet and make it big," and they did, just as a marketing test. It was just to show what they could do as marketers. Um, and that's basically what Liquid Death did. I mean, he knew how to market. He knew what he was doing. He's like, I can do something that nobody's done, and that's entered the market of water. That is all the water companies are owned by multi-billion-dollar companies. He started with a $5,000, I think, initial investment on ads and a short video. So marketing a water, a lot of people are less has like they'll try it. What, it's $2, and then you're like, I didn't like it. Whatever. You're not going to go out and spend $4,000 on an electric bike that you're like, I might not like it. Like that's not so you have to number one as a DTC brand, it's you're not going out to these dealerships and test riding bikes like it's been forever. If you wanted a bike, you went to the bike shop, you test rode a bike, you bought that bike.
and you walk away with
There's
it.
so many e-bikes brand. I want to say they had like 12,000 electric bike brands were started last year or in 2020 or something. Um, Almost all of them were white labeled bikes. They're buying already built bikes from factories that just that's what they do, build bikes, and they're slapping a brand on them.
Yeah,
So the marketing aspect you have to play is you're not going to expect to get a sale right away. I mean, people, number one, they got to see you. Then they're going to want to do their research on you. They're going to want to find out about you.
hmm,
Then as well, you're going to want to make them feel comfortable enough to know that you're going to be around in the next 5 years. Like you can offer someone a 2 year warranty or a year warranty. If you're not going to be in business in 6 months, what's
yeah.
that going to do? That with the content is you have to portray what you're doing as a brand, why you are where you are, and what your goal is, as well as giving the comfort of being like, look, yeah, we're testing, yeah, this is all this stuff, but we are going to be here when something happens. We didn't follow the model of what a lot of brands did, which is crowdfunding, which there's nothing wrong with that. But then there's also the pre-sale model, and you see a lot of the people who do a
Yeah,
ton of pre-sale on product, and the product doesn't come in right, but they sell it anyways because
yeah,
they have to.
yeah.
For us, we developed the exact opposite direction. We made sure we don't even put our stuff up until we have it in stock. Like we have it here and we have checked every product that goes out.
Well, it's a credit culture where
Yeah.
you want to make bikes, but you don't have the money, so you
Hmm.
promise the bikes for the money, and it's a vicious cycle. And there's,
Hmm.
like you said, there's nothing wrong with that. And as long as people are seeing your genuine intention, I
Hmm.
think that is a magnet for business.
Yeah.
If you see someone that is promising bikes, but you know they have the track record, and they know they have the skill, and they know they
Hmm.
have the heart, and they're willing to do it, then you want to put that money down because you want to also support growing
Yeah.
businesses. and
Hmm.
and the trust issue comes into the social media and video and just communicating with your people effectively and genuinely. I think
Yeah.
that's a key thing.
And especially as a smaller brand, like as a small brand or a starting company, you really have to show that trust. I mean, nowadays it's the weirdest time. I mean, look at cars. People are pre-ordering cars 2 years in advance. But yeah, you know that Ford is actually going to have the car come out. I mean, people waited 2 years for the Broncos. You know it's going
Yeah,
to come out. I mean, they're not going to take the pre-order. It's not like Ford's going to disappear. But a lot of these brands, you could do, if you go buy a bike or put down a pre-order for $2,000 and that company never produces, you really don't have much option or
yeah.
clawback. Essentially, they can take that money and say that they lost it. Yeah, our bad. We can't supply. There is models for it, but
In GoFundMe, there's a disclaimer, and they you don't have to make the product
mhm,
if they
yeah,
you're willing to lose your money, but you just have to be careful out there and like
mhm,
do your investigation, and you'll see when if you start chatting with the people and you follow them on social media and you see their
mhm,
content and you see that they're replying and you see comments, then
mhm,
those are the that you got to follow. I
yeah,
wanted to touch back on the water thing because there's another brand called Free Water, and
uh-huh.
Free Water is free products that they stick a label onto it. So actually, the brands are paying for the water.
Oh, really?
So yeah, it's like a business model
Mhm,
that's revolutionary because advertising is turning it on itself in so many different ways, and there's so much money in visibility that
mhm.
they realize, oh, well, they can pay for the product. And the beautiful thing about branding is that it it pay it communicates your story, and it genuinely you can see through a brand.
It's funny. It's like our marketing it's almost guerrilla marketing. I mean, our biggest thing is when people just ride the bike. Has nothing to do with ever showing it. I mean, some people that don't even they come up and they're like, I think that kind of looks weird. They sit on it and they buy it because they're like, holy cow. So a lot of our marketing has been word of mouth and just people seeing it and portraying it in video is hard. It's like I wish you could be like could show what it really is, but that's a hard thing to do is to portray
Yeah,
what fun is, like and what the
yeah.
comfort is. It's a trip.
We talked about this being a marathon. What do you think the next year, the next 5 years, and the next 10 years are going to look like for P-51?
Everything's going fast. Um, our projections, we've beat every single projection so far that we've put out, just because it's just been growing. I mean, it's just such a fast industry. Just growing our team, kind of just keep growing. We've got 2 buildings here. I think we'll be able to operate for a while out of these, and then just keeping fulfillment down, making everything. We want to make sure that we're keeping up, getting everything to our customers, and our customers are we're always here to help. And it's not like, oh, wait 2 weeks to hear from us. That's not how we are. So I think in 5 years, I mean, I think by in 2 years we're going to be pretty much. I think we've got a bike in almost every state now, but I have a feeling we're going to be growing pretty quick in most communities. So within 1 year, I think we're going to have a lot more accessories. We're already working on a lot of accessories. So I mean, in 5 years, I mean, you're going to be able to see us. We'll be one of the big brands. Is the goal, and that's hopefully if we grow slow.
Where can we find P-51? How do you where can we find them in social media, and what's the best way to reach you guys to test drive one of these bikes and just to be in contact with you?
Yeah. So if you look us up, we're p51bikes.com. And then for our socials on Instagram and Facebook, it's P51 Bikes. And then easiest way to get a hold of us is you can message us on Instagram. You can shoot us an email through the contact. I check the emails all day, every night, every day, every night. To test ride, we do have a showroom here in Huntington Beach, and you're able to swing by. We're by appointment only. So you can send us a message. You can set up an appointment Monday through Friday, sometimes Saturdays, whatever. We're pretty loose with where we can be. And you can come in and you can learn all about the bikes, see what goes into building the bikes, and test ride them right from here, and even pick them up. We have one of every color, fully assembled, ready to go, or we can box them and send them out and ship them.
Okay, well, Kevin, thanks so much for being on the Brand Ventures.
Of course,
We really love your brand, and we're gonna wish the best. And I just know that we're on the other side supporting you, and we want to see a lot more from P-51 in the future.
Yeah, thank you so much. I'm excited to be here, and I'm stoked that you chose us to be on your podcast.
Excellent.